All right, so I'm back here doing some wiring tonight. Just kind of finishing up on some stuff. I ended up taking the 10-pin connector that I put on in the last video. That was on all these wires here. I ended up taking it off because I wanted to allow some room for expansion later. I had 9 pins in there and 10, one extra. So what I did was I took it off and I ordered a 12 pin so that I can have extra room for the 3 wires that I would need for cruise control, because eventually I am going to put some switches in to have the cruise control. So I ended up cutting that off. I got a new one. It's out over in the toolbox, but I'm going to put that on tonight. Another thing I also did was I pulled the fuel line here, the fuel trigger wire out of the relay here from the PSI harness. So I just depinned it, took back all of the tape, and opened up the harness a little bit here. I'm going to relume this back up, but I just pulled the wire out, and I'm going to run my own trigger wire. So this is actually going to run down to here and then turn around and go back up out. And the reason I'm doing that is if later I want to, for some reason, put the trigger back in here, or if I sell this harness, it can be easily converted back to run the fuel pump right here. So I don't want to totally change it all. So I just stripped it back and just connected my own wire. Unfortunately, I don't have any green left, so I'm going to use an orange wire to run up to my harness, but I have labeled the wire here, like it says fuel trigger. And I also wanted to show, I found these pretty trick connectors here. Actually, a buddy of mine who's actually going to wire this truck eventually, all the fans and everything, but he uses these little deals. It's I don't know if you can see that or not. Let me see if I can get up on the side profile view of this here. But basically, it's just a U, and it's got these serrations inside, so you can crimp it like a normal terminal. And what it does is it makes a butt connection here, I guess what you call that. It makes it tiny. I mean, that thing's a 1/4 inch long. So I'm going to put some, what am I thinking? Heat shrink. There we are. Sorry, it's kind of late. Put some heat shrink on that, put it back together, relume it back into here, and it'll be done. And I also have my red trigger wire that triggers the whole thing. That's going to run back into my connector as well. I went ahead and took out, they had either 18 or 20 gauge wire. So I had some of this 16 gauge left, so I went ahead and just depinned it and put my own wire in here, labeled it. So anything I've taken apart and done anything with, I've labeled it, just so I know in the future what's what. But I just kind of wanted to show these terminals. They're pretty trick. So this is actually the terminal that came off. I just cut it off, and then I just spliced it in with these little tiny butt connectors, and I'll put a link to those below. They're pretty cool. So I'm trying to get away from using any sort of an actual butt connector. I do have the good 3M ones with the heat shrink and all that, but this makes a tidy little connection. So I'm going to get that wrapped back up, put this wire here, relume this, and work on putting that connector together, that 12 pin, and getting everything squared away and retaping this and everything so I can actually bolt this hump in, put the carpet back down. I would rather work on a carpet instead of this sticky Dynamat. So, and I'm going to try to finish up the Dakota install here. Just got to trim those wires to fit and put them up there on the module there. And that should be it for in here, and I can get out into the engine bay and run those relays for everything out there. So anyway, I'm going to get to work and quit rambling now. All right, so I spent about an hour tonight, and I didn't have much time, but I got what I wanted to get done. Everything is kind of routed the way I want it to go. I've got all the TAC module stuff here, OBD2 sensor, OBD2 wire that comes down for the Dakota module that goes to the pedal from the ECM. Everything's kind of routed like last time, down and around like this. I stripped the loom back on all the harness coming through the hump here, just so I can see if I can get that to lay flat, and it will lay flat over that rib right there. So I'm going to probably cut this back just a little bit and put harness tape to about here, and then maybe put it back in the loom. I haven't decided what I'm going to do with that yet. It's got a serial number and everything on here, so I may just leave it. I got my connector crimped on here to interface the truck to the ECM. Ended up breaking out the fuel level sender to a separate connector here, just in case I ever want. So right now it's set up so that I can unplug this and I can take the entire LS harness out of the truck without cutting any wires. So the way I had it before, I had the fuel level sender going through the same one, so that I'd have to cut wires if I wanted to remove that. But so I just didn't want to deal with that. So I went ahead and put those on there. So those are good. Got all the extra wires, speedometer, tech, and I forget what the third wire is there. Got those capped off so they won't ground out on me. So I'm going to relume all this. Got all my wires over here from the tach module to the pedal. OBD2 from the Dakota module. Had not done the gauge module yet. Ran out of time. I'm going to try to do that maybe tomorrow at lunch. So everything in here is good. I got my wires routed from the back of the fuse panel here. You can kind of see that green wire right there. It turns actually into an orange wire because I didn't have any green wire, but I labeled everything with my label maker there and got everything heat shrinked on there. So everything is labeled that I modified in here, so it makes sense. So that wire routes back in here and then comes back out through here and then goes into there. I did strip out in the PSI harness they had in this bundle of wires. They had a wire that's supposed to, it's an optional wire, but it goes to ground and park and neutral, just to tell the ECM that the truck is in park or neutral. So I actually ran that wire back out the loom here. I split this back and ran it out. So I'm going to plug into the transmission. I'm going to use the stock gear indicator. I forget what it's called on the side of the transmission. I did some probing on it today, and I figured out what grounds out, what pins ground out in park and neutral. So I'm going to set that up so that actually works. And that's about it in here. So I just got to do some tidying up. Everything over here is ready for the carpet to come back down. I just need to bolt this back in. But I wanted to make sure that everything is good with this here loom as far as I can tell before I bolt that in, because it runs through there. There's not a whole lot of slack. So right now it's drooping down on top of the transmission, but I'm going to get some clamps and pull it up and mount it actually on these bolts are sticking through on that side. I'm going to mount it to that and run it up just so it stays off the transmission. But that's pretty much it. Once I get that done, I can put the carpet back down and stop working on this nasty Dynamat and sticking to it. So anyway, so I guess we will pick back up tomorrow. All right, so I came by the shop for a couple hours tonight and kind of got a little carried away here and didn't film anything. I just kind of wanted to get on a roll and get the interior wiring done, which it is finally done. The carpet's just loosely installed here. I've got to actually pop it back out, and I'm going to put some bolts through that side of the far side of the hump there to hold the harness to the hump to kind of keep it up off the transmission. There wasn't quite enough slack in there to do what I wanted to do, so I am just going to pop a couple holes in there and put some cable brackets there, those rubber-lined metal brackets to hold that up. But everything is good. Everything is run. Everything is finished. I ended up taking the split loom off of the harness from PSI on everything, even all the wires that come over here. Sorry, it's kind of dark there. I don't have the carpet makes it a lot darker. And just put harness tape on it, just the non-stick vinyl tape. It's a lot nicer. It's a heck of a lot more flexible. Still protects the wires, and I can get this to flatten down real nice right here. So everything's in. That's kind of where the ECU is going to go. The fuse block, I'm going to build a little bracket that holds it up right there. This is my connection between the truck and the ECU, and also out to my fuel sender. And then over here, I got the tach, OBD2, and my Dakota cable for my BIM module. So everything, it worked out perfect. All the wires are done. I got all of my Dakota wires. My gauges are wired in. I got the BIM module and the module for the gauges themselves. So it's all wired in. These are just the wires here that connect to the gauges. I got the two data cables, one power for the clock, and then I did turn signals because I wanted the turn signals up in the stock location. You can wire them in to the module and get it on the gauge faces, but I wanted the top just so it more like stock. So everything's wired in, ready to put it together. Again, sorry for not videotaping it. I was just kind of on a roll, and I wanted to get it done because it's like midnight right now, and I just wanted to kind of get done so I can go home and get some sleep. So had to run a couple grounds down for here. Actually tapped into one of the grounds from the old gauge cluster, so I ran a new wire back over there. That's it. Everything's good under here, so I'm going to put the cluster in. That'll be done, so I can put the column back in. I do need to drill a couple holes in this bracket back here. Let's see if I get the light down here to hold this wire down. So I'm going to pop a hole in up here and a hole down here just for that wire for the pedal that goes to the tach module, and that's it. So, and then I've also got to mount the switch. There's actually some holes down here from somebody, the previous owner, putting something that line up exactly with this switch. I'm just going to put that down there. You won't see it. It's for programming the gauges and doing whatnot with those. So anyway, that's kind of it for tonight. Again, sorry for not videotaping some stuff here, but just kind of roll, and it was kind of boring, just tedious stuff. Just kind of stripping loom and retaping the harness there and getting the carpet in and putting a new slit in here and making sure that slit was in the right spot. But that's it for today. So I'm going to head home and get some sleep. But hopefully this week, one night, get up here and work on all the wiring out here. So I've got a game plan now on what I'm going to do with all the wiring. So I'm going to have the 2 relays on this side for the headlights, and then 3 over there, 1 for each fan and 1 for the fuel pump. So I'm going to put all those in and get everything wired up. But anyway, that's it for today. I do appreciate you guys watching. Please like and subscribe if you'd like to. Leave some comments. Love to hear from you guys. But that's it. I'm going to stop rambling. I appreciate you guys watching, and have a good day.